You know, setup point, ending, and sorry, setup, story, ending kind of thing.
Setup, story, ending?
Setup, story, hey!
Okay.
Setup, story, ending. So if I look at the setup, for example, one of the things that's happening in organizations is that, unknowing to the top, performance is running horizontally.
Right.
And so the myth is that everything is running vertically. The silos would suggest there's a vertical bit of control, and of course there is a vertical bit of control, but the real performance runs horizontally no matter what.
Despite all these like tall buildings we see in front of us, it's actually horizontal.
Exactly, exactly. And that's a beautiful way of putting it. So, now that's the one part of it. So that would be the overview, if you will, of what's going on.
Okay.
The next tier down is, how does belief and habit inform what we're doing? If we believe that managers are all about control, what does that look like? Right? What does that look like in yourself? What does that look like in the organizational habits? What kinds of systems and procedures support control? What kinds of skills are required to move from a control-oriented way of relating to staff to a more facilitative way of relating to staff?
Well, see, this is so interesting what you're talking about, because, you know, now that I'm with the SAP, a German-run company, they do everything so efficiently and have done a lot of thinking around that, and I think that it's definitely something that's been recognized in the world. You know, the SAP being a German company and being a very well-run company, like the BMW, is. So meeting all of them for the first time, I thought that was quite interesting. But there's not that many SAPs out there, right? So how do you make that shift of getting them to that, other than getting rid of all the executives and bringing on new ones? Which doesn't all the time work either, right?
Well, it's not even the point. I mean, the point is that everybody has a deeper level of talent that needs to be engaged at this point in time, and really what we're doing is we're pulling away the layers of limitation. And so that includes understanding what beliefs, what habits, what mental models are between us and a deeper capacity to...
And that's the stuff that you're working on now.
Cool. Exactly. And I mean, you know, the bottom line is it's through the self.
Okay.
The self is the agent, so it's self-leadership, and then that expands to collective and group leadership, which expands to much higher levels of contribution, and really goes well beyond the boundaries of the company. So that higher purpose of the company, if I speak of it in this way for a moment, higher purpose is a natural result. The other way of looking at it is that the research basically tells us that companies that engage their employees to the highest level possible are companies who have a purpose of being that goes well beyond anything bottom line-ish.
So how do you get that in, though? I mean, how do you get that message across, and what's that process? Because I mean, with facilitation, that's you can only do so much, right?
Well, I think
dragging a group into a room and doing all of that. So where do you start, I guess, is what I'm curious about.
I think the simple answer to that is that you start with the self. Now, what that means is that if you understand performance runs horizontally, then and you recognize that, and that has to be in every organization. You can map that. That can be done through not social network analysis, which reduces, but social network mapping, which maps what exists in a kind of an expansive way.
Okay.
So the starting point in my brain is really about understanding that how we lead is changing. We don't lead through control. We never did lead through control, but the value's always been around control.
Right.
And the value's always been around knowing. In reality now, the value is around not knowing. So it's about retaining a level of curiosity that allows you to learn. So it's moving from hierarchical command control to more of an organizational learning approach. And there's a couple of tiers to it. It can start anywhere there's a project with a goal orientation. Anywhere. And you can work with that to sort of say, how can we support and follow everybody's capacity to contribute collectively? How can we do that? What do we need to do?
That's a pretty meaty question, isn't it?
Yeah.
But one that's, I think what you're saying, very worthy to pursue, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's imperative. I mean, one of the things I think is going
If
on.
you don't, you might have to get one of
Are
these
you recording
coming.
this?
Yep.
Okay. What? Not on you. It doesn't have to be on me. I'm just saying sound is important. I realize. Because it's so clear coming out of this last 3 days, I should really record it all.
Yeah.
But one of the things that is everyone has a sense of, everyone at least at this the Knowledge and Innovation Network meeting had a sense of, is that we're at a real tipping point.
Okay.
In other words, I think at the executive level, there's an understanding that doing what we've always done does not produce different results.
Sure.
And so there's an understanding that while those are the tools that we think we have access to, we're really ready to explore and get some more tools in the arsenal. And those tools come from within. Is that your walkie-talkie calling?
Is it?
The buzzing thing?
Let's see here. Hey, Andre, are you there? Somewhere? He's probably on the bus. He'll ring me like that, so I'm back. Anyway,
so there's a sensation right now. I mean, as I've seen it in my organizational work, it's like everyone has an undercurrent of, we know something's got to shift in a big way, we just don't know how to do it. We don't know.
now, so
I think we're at that point.
And sorry to interrupt, but back to that, how you've done a lot of research and stuff. So, what indicators are you seeing right now that because I mean, I know we're at that point, but it's just something I know, right?
Yeah.
So, other than these gentlemen and women that you were talking to down at the conference, which is pretty outstanding, we'll have to cover that again later. But what else do you see out there as pointers or
I'd say
things?
there's probably, I'm going to say 3, and there may be more.
Okay.
But there's 3 things. One of them has to do with engagement.
All right.
The model for engagement has always been motivation,
Okay.
incentives,
Okay.
yada yada. For a long time, it's been said by some of the top business gurus in the world that it's not about motivation, it's about inspiration. There's no question we're at that crossroads.
Okay.
I mean, if you could debate and deny it before, you can't now.
Okay.
People can walk.
Right.
Younger generation just won't do it, and
Right.
thank goodness for that.
Right.
The older generation, who have been in suck it up mode for some time now,
Yeah.
are still trying to make that old way of that incongruence work for them.
Sure.
And it simply doesn't work anymore. So that shows up as stress-related illness. It shows up as depression. It shows up in addictive patterns.
And those are the indicators.
Those are the indicators.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Okay.
because
Symptoms.
repression of expression creates either aggression or depression. It either goes in or it goes out.
Sure.
So if it's out, it's aggression, and if it goes in, it's depression.
And we know that now. There's science
Oh,
there.
gosh, tons of it.
Yeah.
What we haven't done is link all the pieces together.
Huh.
We haven't hooked it up. And that's the opportunity we have at this point, is to make all these connections and then see it as a much larger dynamic. Up until now, we've been more diagnostic, much more surgical, shall I say, about
Right.
our approach to these issues. Instead of recognizing that, no, each one of them expresses an aspect of the larger picture.
Right.
And we've been trying to take individual symptoms, individual indicators, and rationalize around that. And a lot of blaming and judgment goes on. Look at that person. They're burnt out. What's the
Right.
matter with them? Well, what's the matter with them is they gave more than they got.
Yeah.
They cared compassionately about their work, and they gave and gave and gave, and didn't get enough back from a heart standpoint. So, like, what's that?